Okay, welcome everybody to 6 p.m. We're doing a little restorative tonight, so we'll be using lots of props. I have the playlist up here. It's UH West Oahu Restorative, and you can scan it from the screen or you can search it on Spotify. And I'm going to stop sharing that for now. And okay, there we go. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what restorative is. That's better. The practice of restorative yoga. And we usually use a lot of props. So I have 4 blocks tonight. If you have blocks, that's great. If you have pillows, that's great too. In traditional yin, they use a lot of bolsters, which are pillows. So like couch pillows, those like decorative pillows, those will work just fine instead of blocks. And then, as I said, if you have blocks, that's great. So the intention behind the restorative practice or the yin practice. So if you think of a yin yang, right, the symbol, the black and white Chinese symbol, it's actually pronounced yin and yang rather than yin yang, even though it's spelled that way. And so yang is the white part, right? Yang is the sun. It is masculine energy. It is all of the things that are action and daytime. And then yin is the dark part, right? The equal and opposite, so to speak. So it's the moon. It is female energy. It is, something less active and more restful or restorative. So they say rest and digest. When we give ourselves time to actually rest and recover from things, our digestive system is able to become more active. When we're constantly in fight or flight or the stress mode, it has effects on our digestion. It affects pretty much everything in our body, all the organs in our body, and not only just our muscles, but also our connective tissue. So our fascia, our ligaments and tendons. And that's what we're focusing on tonight. So with a restorative pose, with a yin class, it's really all about just staying in a posture and settling in over a period of time. We might hold some things for like 3 or 4 minutes, and it might become uncomfortable. And that's kind of where the practice is challenging, because it doesn't look very challenging. It doesn't look physically challenging. It really is more of a mental challenge. And so think about throughout all of these postures, and I'll try to remind you to disengage. So disengage from your breath. You don't have to focus on like ujjayi breath or big breaths. Just allow your breath to be natural. And then with your muscles, think disengage all of your muscles. So whenever we're in a posture, and that's why we have all these blocks, the intention is to support your body and your skeleton so that your muscles can actually disengage and the connective tissue can start to open up and melt open a little bit. But if your muscles are engaged, then your connective tissue can't do that. So I think that is pretty much the intro for right now. So what we'll do is get the playlist set up. So if you have pulled up the playlist and you're gonna follow what I'm following, get that ready, or you can listen to whatever you want. Restorative is super mellow, so I'll just like whatever the most mellow things you can think of, put on that playlist. And I'm gonna press the first song in 3, 2, 1, press play, and then just adjust your volume to where you want it to be. Now we'll start with 2 blocks right now. Come to the center of your mat. And we will start with broken toe pose. It sounds intense, and it is. So bend your toes or just come back to have a seat on your heels with your toes kind of flexed. And you can bring your blocks underneath your hands here just for a little support. Another option, there's a lot of different options here because this will become uncomfortable if it's not right now. You can have a seat on your block to take some of the weight out of your toes. You can also bring your block on top of your heels to, again, alleviate some of the weight off of your heels. And whatever variation you take, settle into that. I'm going to put my timer on, and we will be here for 3 minutes. Starting now. So you can bring your hands to your thighs or to some blocks next to you. Maybe close your eyes. And just see where you can soften. This is a particularly intense posture for me. I have arthritis in one of my big toes. And so I feel it right now. I can feel it a lot. But the often that I do this posture, and generally right afterwards, it feels a lot better. I feel a lot less inflammation in that toe when I'm doing this. And so we start with big or broken toe pose, or I do often, because the bottoms of our feet are where we have a lot of the connective tissue that just gets really tight, right? All of this stuff on the bottoms of our feet, especially if you're standing often, will just get stuck down there. And you can really tell, you can feel it as if you've ever gotten a foot massage, or if you ever, you know, every once in a while, once in a blue moon, we don't generally take as good a care of our feet as we should. But you can really tell how tight and uncomfortable this is the longer you sit here, right? And this is where your brain will kind of start to mess with you a little bit. Just say, why are we still here? Why can't we move yet? And that is very much the challenge of a yin class. I had an instructor that always said that your yoga practice begins when you want the posture to end. And that's usually a good one for this posture specifically. We have 1 minute left. You can always adjust a little bit if you need to. Maybe shift forward and then come back into it. Especially if this is the first time ever doing this posture, this can be a little extra intense. The more you kind of integrate this into maybe regular life or just a yin practice in general, the less intense this posture will become. If you just think of those foot charts, those Chinese foot charts, where they show you all the areas of the body that are affected by those pressure points or those areas on your foot. So it's where all of our nerves end, right? Everything kind of ends at our feet, or starts, just depending on how you look at it. So again, this posture can just be so important. Okay, shift forward. We've come to the end. Shift forward and point your toes back and just tap out your knees, or tap out the tops of your feet. Now sit back and counter stretch. So lift your knees, and this time stretch out the front of your feet. We won't stay here as long. We'll just kind of counter stretch. Slowly lower down. And now grab one block and come to child's pose. So bring a block underneath your chest. In extended child's pose, bring your knees apart and toes together to touch, and then lower your hips down towards your heels and bring your block underneath your chest. And place your forehead on the ground, or even place your block underneath your forehead. Close your eyes and breathe here. Breathe into your hips. Breathe into your lower back. Then slide forward, reach your arms forward, and come to puppy dog pose. So this time you want your block underneath your chest, maybe lift it up and place your chest on your block. Reach your arms out long, and you can either bring your chin or your forehead to the mat. And just breathe here. Maybe even walk your hips up a little farther and find more length in your spine. Now walk your right hand underneath your left arm. So thread your needle. Keep your left arm out long and then bring your right temple to the mat. You can keep your block right where it is. Or if you want to go deeper into this, remove your block and bring the full weight of your body down onto your right shoulder. Drop the front of your left shoulder down and just breathe into the top of your right shoulder. And bring your right arm back out long in front of you. And switch sides. Slide your left arm underneath your right, thread the needle, and bring your right shoulder and right temple to the mat. Relax the front of your right shoulder down. Rebend your right elbow and just rise up to tabletop. Bring your knees underneath your shoulders and your hands underneath your knees under your hips and your hands under your shoulders. Now just inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. And then walk it out. I'm going to face you so you can see where I'm going. So come to your belly and grab two of your blocks. So you want to sit up so you can see me better. Bring the corners or the edges of your blocks kind of into or underneath your collarbone. So you can set up your blocks kind of like a V, and then you will have to adjust. Actually, you'll have to adjust it as you set up your shoulders. So belly down, and then place your blocks kind of just on your pecs, underneath there, and drop your forehead down. Now, if you want to go a little higher up, you can bring your blocks to the next layer up or next height. And again, bring them underneath kind of your collarbones. Bring your hands to the sides and then drop your forehead down. And just breathe. It's a great posture to Kind of undo a lot of what happens when we're sitting in front of a computer, driving. Your shoulders begin to roll forward. You may not feel anything at the very beginning. But as we begin to settle into this posture, you may even feel things in the back of your shoulders start to loosen up and tingle. Now slowly bring your hands back underneath your shoulders. Lift up and move your block out of the way. Take your left arm out to the side and bring your right hand underneath your right shoulder. Bend your right knee and just roll over onto your left side body. Bring your right foot onto the left side of your left leg and either reach your arm up, reach back behind you, or maybe bend your elbow and take a half bind. And just breathe here. Slowly reach your right arm up. And exhale, roll to your belly. Back through center. Neutralize your spine and then switch sides. Send your right arm out. Bend your left knee and roll over to your right shoulder, right temple. And place your left foot on the mat behind you. And maybe reach your left arm up or back. Or bend your left elbow and try on the half bind. Start to reach your left arm up and then roll back to your belly. This time bring your hands underneath your chin and just windshield wipe your legs side to side. Yeah. Neutralize your spine and lower your feet down. Bring your hands underneath you and just press yourself up to a seat. And I'm going to turn sideways so you can kind of see what I'm doing, but roll down to your back. Go all the way down to your back for banana pose. This is one of my favorites. So yeah, take your legs and walk them all the way over to the right side. Cross your left leg over your right. And as far as you can and start to feel your left hip flexor open up. Now, reach your left arm over towards your right and grab your left wrist with your right hand and just lay there and breathe. Now scan your body and check in. See where maybe you might be clenching or engaging one of your muscles. Maybe your right glute muscle can release just a little bit. Breathe into your left side body here. Your left hip flexor and psoas. Even a little bit into your lower back. Slowly come back to center. Maybe windshield wiper your knees. And then switch sides. This time, walk your feet over to the left side. Cross your right leg over your left. And reach your right arm to the left side. Grab your right wrist. Pull on your right wrist and lower everything down to the ground. You may notice one side may be a little different than the other. That's all right. Just allows you to be aware of where you're more open and where you're more strong. And slowly release your hand and come back to center. Now bring your feet underneath your glutes and grab one of your blocks. You just need one for supported bridge. So lift your hips, slide your block underneath your lower back, and just rest your lower back on your block. And place your hands on your side. You can stay right here with your hips elevated just a little bit. And find some release in your lower back. Maybe even some release of pressure on your diaphragm. Or option is straighten your legs out long for a full body stretch. Maybe even reach your arms up over your head and lengthen from your fingers through the tips of your toes. Slowly bend your right knee. Squeeze your right knee into your right armpit and glue your left heel to your mat. Breathe in. Exhale, drop your right knee outside of your ribs and just breathe into your left hip. Switch sides, lower your right leg down, and then bring your left knee in. Again, glue your right heel to the mat. Breathe in and squeeze your left knee into your chest. And exhale, open out to the side and open up through your right hip flexor. Lower both feet back to the mat. Lift your hips off of your block and lower everything down. Rock your knees side to side. And then grab 2 blocks. There we go. 2 blocks. This one's got a little bit of setup. So you're going to make a T with your blocks. So just like that. This one goes behind your head, and this one goes along your spine. So think about placing your shoulder blades just on top of this part of your block, and then your tailbone, your spine goes along here, and your tailbone will drop off the end. And you can also take it a little higher if you want to go deeper into the chest and heart opener. But let's start right here, and you may have or need a little extra time to set up into this one. So again, just find your placement here. Place your head on a block and place your other block underneath your shoulder blades. Now, once you found your layer, bring the soles of your feet together and allow your knees to fall open for Supta Baddha Konasana. And then next layer, bring your arms over your head. You can bring your fingertips together and thumbs to touch, so a little Mona hands right there. So this is called the triple diamonds, or triple diamond. It's a very, again, very feminine and receiving posture. It's also very heart and hip opening through your shoulder. So this one is kind of a very symbolic of divine feminine power. Now release your hands down to your sides. And then bring your knees together. So you can use your hands. Roll over to one side. And just come into a fetal position. And so just neutralize your spine right here. When you're ready, just press yourself up. And come to a seat. Okay, so grab all of your blocks, or as many of your blocks or pillows or whatever you have, books, whatever you got. And we're gonna get into hips. So send your right leg out long. And bend your left knee. Bring your left foot into your right thigh. Now you can use your blocks. So we're going to use the blocks to build a little, like a fort. And the intention of this fort or this little tower is to create support. So it's your tower of support for your forehead to rest down on. And you may notice that as you spend more time in this posture, you need less blocks or pillows or whatever. So you can remove a layer and then gently lower down. But again, try not to force anything. This is really just about allowing your body to gently go where it's ready to go. So from here, turn to face your right leg and then walk your hands forward. You may need to replace your blocks where you need to place your forehead down and rest your forearms on the ground. So again, zero engagement in your muscles. And if you want to remove a layer and lower your forehead down to one of your blocks and just breathe. Main focus here is your left lower back. So this is a great posture to relieve sciatica. Slowly rise up. And then switch sides. So take your left leg out long, bend your right knee, and then set up your tower on the other side. So same options. You can build your tower of support and start here. Turn to face your left leg, breathe in, and then hinge forward from your waist and adjust your blocks where you need them to be and settle your forehead onto your blocks. And again, as you are ready, you can lower down one layer. And breathe into your right lower back this time. slowly roll back up. Oh, shake it out. Shake out your legs a little. And then take both legs in front of you. So what you can do here is bring your block maybe in between your thighs so you can take your feet a little bit wider, or maybe like in between your knees right there. And then reach your arms up and overhead. Find length of your spine first. Breathe in. And exhale, hinge forward. And just find your block with your forehead. So place your forehead on your block and breathe. So you might need to adjust. You can even add a second layer, add another block here. Whatever you need here to, again, target your lower back and just find a full rest and recover. So maybe even take your block down a layer and allow your arms to just settle down next to you. Again, notice if there are any areas of your body that are engaged. Maybe a block would allow you to disengage those muscles. And again, use the support that's there. Slowly roll up your spine. You can use your hands to walk yourself back up. Ooh, and then roll up. And you can remove your block. And then if you have two blocks close to you, you can use those. I'll go sideways so you can see me, or no blocks is fine too. Where we're going to take a counter stretch, reverse plank. So you can either bring your hands to your blocks and point your fingertips forward, or just to the ground behind you. Lift your hips. So we'll start in a little reverse tabletop. Lift your hips first. Ooh, and just, yeah, lengthen through your spine. Now from here, open up through your chest and shoulders. You can straighten your legs out. Press into your feet, lift your hips, breathe in, and then drop your head down behind you. One more breath here. And exhale, lower down. Okay. Take some counter stretches. So the next one we will get into is called fixed firm, or it's like a half fixed firm actually. So take your left leg out long first and bend your right knee behind you. So it's kind of almost the opposite of what we just did. And so there's a lot of different layers, but bend your knee out, kind of out to the side, let your foot come outside your right foot or right hip. And the intention here is to just give, to create space to stretch out the tendons and the ligaments, the connective tissue, mainly in your knees, and then in your ankles and the front of your feet or the tops of your feet. So you shouldn't feel any pain or pinching, but you might feel a little bit of discomfort or just kind of like, ooh, that's a stretch, because we don't do that very often either. So, and then your other leg stays out long. You can use blocks here, but I don't think you need them. just lean back onto your forearms. You can bring your hands kind of like near your foot. And just come down to your forearms. We won't stay here for terribly long. You may even start to feel this in your right quad, but generally you'll feel it in your knees. So when we work on stretching and strengthening, right, the balance, we need both the yin and the yang, not just the, if we're overly mobile or overly strong, then we have problems. So these stabilizing muscles around your knees and ankles and your joints are very important to keep us strong and keep us safe. But then it's also important to stretch the same area, the tendons in that area, again, to both to prevent injury, right? The muscles keep your bones in place to prevent the injury. And then if that doesn't work and our bones move around, the flexibility of our connective tissue allows us to avoid tearing anything and just to, you know, have that extra mobility there. Okay, so slowly rise back up onto your hands and then send your right leg out long in front of you. A little shake out. And then same thing, bend your left knee and take it behind you. And walk your hands back and sit back onto your forearms. And you may notice one side there's a little more room, maybe one side's a little stronger. And that's all right, that's just good to know. You can drop your head down behind you if it feels good. But again, just breathe into your knee, your ankle, maybe even into your left quad a little. And slowly rise back up to your hands. Send your left leg out. Ooh, a little shake. And just cross your legs, plant your hands, and step back to a downward facing dog. Stretch out the backs of your legs, one and then the other. And then inhale, lift your right leg high. Ooh. Exhale, half pigeon. Bring your right knee behind your right wrist. Flex your right foot and slide your left toes back. So we will be here for a little bit. You can stay just like this, or you can also use one of your blocks or pillows to create some more space underneath your hip and just lift you up a little bit more. Or you can always flip onto your back into a supine figure four that looks like this. So this is a bit of a less intense version, but half pigeon, this is one of my favorite postures, and especially in a restorative. First time I did it was terrible, but after that, I love it. So walk your hands forward and gently either bring your forehead to a block or bring your forehead to the mat. You can bring it on top of your hands, whatever feels good for you right here, right now. And just know that we'll be here a little longer than normal. And that's okay. So breathe here into your right outer glute, outer hip. They may start screaming at you pretty soon, wondering why we're still here. And just breathe. See where you can soften. Slowly walk your hands back onto the mat. And then toe heel your left toes forward, rise up gently. Inhale, three-legged dog, send your right leg high. And just shake it out, scorpion dog. Bring it back to center. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, three-legged dog, lift your left leg high. Exhale, half pigeon. Bring your left knee behind your left wrist and find your layer here. So again, you have the option to use your block underneath your left hip. Slide your right toes back or take the supine figure four. But whatever feels right in your body right here, just settle in here. Inhale, lengthen through your spine first. And then exhale, walk your arms forward. Either bring a block or pillow underneath your forehead or your forehead to your hand. Again, regulate your breath here. Sometimes when the posture becomes intense, your heart rate starts to come up. So just notice if that deep outer hip stretch is affecting other parts of your body. How can you use your breath to calm your nervous system? Walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. Take it slow. And slowly bring your right toes forward. Inhale, three-legged dog, send your left leg up. And then shake it out. Come back to center, lower down to downward facing dog. Big breath in. Exhale, press your chest towards your thighs. Come down to your knees and have a seat. Okay, so we're gonna use the wall for the next couple postures or whatever you are propped up against. So like I said, there's no need for anything major, but grab one block, bring it with you, and then set yourself up. So come to sit right next to your wall or whatever you're gonna do, or whatever you're gonna use, and then kind of situate yourself to lay down with your booty right against the wall or whatever you're using. Send your legs up against the wall. That's the name of this posture, legs up the wall. So you can stay right here. Just bring your arms out to the side. Any variation that feels good, your body. We're just again giving your legs a little bit of rest. And you can stay right here or begin to allow your feet to kind of fall down a little bit to the sides. And again, allow gravity to do most of the work here. But if you like, you can place a block underneath your legs for a little bit of that support. If you find that you're needing to engage your muscles to hold your legs up, feel free to layer in some blocks. And settle your lower back down and just allow gravity to create space to your inner thighs. Maybe even your hamstrings. And slowly, if you allow your legs to fall out to the sides, take your hands to your outer thighs and use them to bring your legs back in. That's it. Bend your knees and scoot yourself a little farther away from your wall or your whatever you're using, your fridge or your cabinet. Now take your block in between your thighs, just in between your knees to create some space and keep your hips level. And cactus your arms. Drop both knees down to the left. So a little simple supine twist. Use your block here. Allow your knees to settle down and then stack your hips one over the other. Relax your right shoulder down and just gaze right. And slowly walk your feet kind of back to center. Bring your knees over your chest. And then just walk them down to the other side. Keep your block where it is. Look to the left. And relax your left shoulder down. Again, stack your hips. And gently release in your lower back. Now walk your feet back up to center. You can remove your block and slide yourself away from your wall. I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see me. For our last posture before Shavasana is fish pose. So kind of similar to what we did in the Supta Baddha Konasana. You can place one block to support your head and the other block to support the middle of your back. And this time maybe even take it up a little bit higher. So to the second layer goes in between your shoulder blades, but just underneath your shoulder blades as well, or kind of along your spine. This is called fish pose. So in this one, your legs stay out long and lengthen your spine along the block. So just adjust as you need to. And then allow your head to drop down to your second block, which is a little bit lower. Okay, once you find your spot, I think I'm there. Release your arms out to the side. Lower your tailbone down and then straighten your legs. Just breathe into the opening that you're creating, the front line of your body. And gently rebend your knees. And again, roll over to one side. Just roll off your blocks. And you can move your blocks out of the way. Actually bring them maybe in front of you. And roll onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest. Just take a little happy baby. Grab the insides of the soles of your feet and rock side to side. Allow your knees to fall open. Maybe stretch one knee and then the other. And then as you're ready, draw your knees into your chest. Squeeze everything in. Exhale. Pentacle pose. So in restorative, it's the same as Shavasana, but we take an extended Shavasana. So arms and legs out long, take up space. So we call this pentacle pose because they're kind of taken up like 5 points like a star. And you have the option to use your blocks underneath your knees for a little extra lower back support. So if you find that your lower back gets a little sore, lifts off the mat while you're in Shavasana, the blocks under the knees are your best friend. Now find your final Shavasana, wherever that may be, and close your eyes to settle in. We'll be here for a few moments. You're welcome to stay in Shavasana. If you're ready to continue on with your evening, just start to deepen your breath. Notice, maybe feel a little more expansive in your chest and your lungs. Start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. And then drop your head to one side, and then the other. And as you're ready, breathe in and reach your arms over your head. Take a full body stretch. And exhale, draw your knees into your chest. Roll over to one side. In your own time, just press yourself up to a seat. You can keep your eyes closed and just feel your way into Sukhasana, to easy pose. Now ground down through your sits bones, draw your belly in and lengthen through your spine. Even maybe notice what feels different in your body. You feel maybe a little bit more space, a little more loosey-goosey. That's pretty much the feeling that you should have right now, loosey-goosey. So bring your hands to your heart, take a deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale out. Show your thumbs to your third eye and bow forward to say your practice. Namaste. Awesome job. 1 second, let me stop the recording. But thank you to everybody that tuned in today. Restorative is actually one of my favorite types of classes. It's one of those things that you don't know that you need until you do it, and it's amazing. So I recommend at least once a week some restorative postures just to open up throughout your body. But I'll be here again, same bat time, same bat place next week. Have a good night.